so I can read this. But the first one is title insurance offers minimal protection. False. False. Without title insurance, your homeowner has zero protection. So that's the number one thing. Two, there's only one type of title insurance. Also false. There's two. There's a lender's policy, and there's the homeowner's policy. So you have two types. Lender's policy usually is needed, but the homeowner's policy is you don't have to have it. I recommend it, but you don't have to have it. It is optional. Number three, title insurance requires a monthly annual premium. No, that's false. You only pay it. It's a one-time cost. You pay at closing. Number four, title insurance is expensive. No, it's not. It's a one-time premium. If you buy both the lenders and the homeowners together, then it becomes even cheaper. So you get it's a reduced cost when you buy them both. There's a way that they figure that out. I don't know what it is, how it's figured out, but it's even cheaper. Number five, paying all cash eliminates the need for title insurance. Again, that's false. I will say that if you pay cash on a home, your title insurance is more expensive, but you still can have it. You still can, obviously you can still buy homeowners insurance. It's more expensive. I recommend it. Homeowners insurance and title insurance offer the same protection. Obviously, we know that's false. Homeowners insurance is totally different than title insurance. So, home buyers do not get to choose the title company. We know that's false. RESPA would argue that as well, but they do get to choose who they want to use as their title company. 8, I'll never need to use title insurance. Now, here's some interesting facts that 730,600 claims to date have been filed. In 2018, the title industry spent over $615 million. So when you're talking to your buyers, let them know. I can get you a copy of this. If anybody wants this comes from our underwriter. Reach out to me. I'll get you a copy of this. There's other things I have. I have one with you can talk to your sellers about. I have another one. Several of them. They're always handy to have when you're meeting with sellers and buyers. So reach out to me. I'd love to get this to you. But that's all I have today. So is there any questions? Yeah.
When it says that 730,600 claims to date in 2018, what are those claims?
Well,
what type of claims would that be protecting these people from?
Well, it could be things that are missed on the title, right? So it could be any kind of fraud, maybe a signature that's not real. Could be a missed lien on a property. Could be a husband that took a loan out that the wife didn't know about going through a divorce. There are many things that it could be. So it could be something simple. It could be something a lot tougher. Who knows? So that's why you want that title insurance. Yep. I will say though that there's two different types of homeowners policy too. There's the standard policy and there's an enhanced policy. Standard policy only covers between 7 and 8 line items. It covers nothing after sale of the house. The enhanced policy will cover items after the sale of the house, whether your heirs keep the house or not. But if you sell that property, there are line items that are covered even after the sale. And the enhanced policy is not much more than the standard policy. So when you talk to your clients, your buyers, I highly recommend the enhanced policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh,
all right. Hey.
Giving us some hindsight wisdom.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, hello. So I'm Lisa Prochal. I've been a real estate agent for 19 years. I've sold over 600 properties in my career. And I'm the owner of the Pickle Properties team, but right now the team is me, myself, and I. So I started out on a team and then I went to being a solo agent. Then I hired an admin, then I had a team, and then my team imploded and I became a solo agent again. So currently I'm a solo agent. So I've seen a lot throughout my career. And so my hindsight wisdom comes from two lessons. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, and don't build a team on a shaky foundation. So I started in the business in 2004, and 2004 was a lot like the market 2 years ago, where all you had to do was put a property on the market, any price, you'd have multiple offers, and you'd sell it in a couple hours. Well, that market actually was built on a shaky foundation, which was mortgages that you could get. Basically, if you could sign an X and log a mirror, you could have a mortgage. But as we all know, the bills came due and people couldn't pay them. So then we had the foreclosure crisis. So it was at that time that we came to Keller Williams and I split from my team. And so I was either I had to figure out how to develop my business, and foreclosures was the market of the moment. So I started going after the banks and built a foreclosure business. And it turns out I was really good at it, loved it. My clients loved me. And so I built a really big business around foreclosures. However, I had all my eggs in one basket. So the first lesson when I learned that, yes, I've learned it more than once, was while I had a number of different bank clients, my largest client was an asset management company. So they basically handled portfolios of foreclosed properties from several different banks. Well, they also had built their business around one big client. So one fine day, August 6th, 2010, half my properties disappeared. And there went half my business. And so I spent the day just watching them go boom, boom, boom. And I called up somebody at the bank and I said, "What's happening?" And they had just lost their biggest client. So while I had a diversified business inside foreclosures and I had several different companies, most of my business was coming from one. So that was a danger. Then, lesson number 2, don't build a team on a shaky foundation. Well, I ended up getting a large hedge fund who had come to the Twin Cities to buy rental properties. And I was their sole agent. And so all of a sudden I had this huge client. And so I had to expand my business very quickly, or expand my team very quickly, which I did. Did very well for a couple of years, but it was all built around this one client, as well as my REO business. So there wasn't a strong foundation as far as how are we creating business, what are our systems, who are we known as, et cetera, which is the way that you really need to build a team. And so then one day my big hedge fund pulled out of the market and I'm left with this huge team or admin to pay salaries for. And I was able to support it for a while with my REO business, but I wasn't able to pay my own bills. And so pretty soon I had to dissolve my whole team. That was a real shocker. So I had not only had all my eggs in one basket again, but I had built a team on shaky ground. So then I became a solo agent again, and I was just focused on my REO and foreclosures. And then there's this thing called COVID that happens, and there's a foreclosure moratorium. So all of a sudden, not only am I just focused on one part of the market, but that whole market got shut down because there were no more foreclosures. So I have spent my whole career focused on one aspect of the business and not building a strong business in several different areas. I totally ignored my database because I had enough business to be able to sustain it. But even with these ebbs and flows, it took me 3 times to actually learn a lesson. So Gary Keller tells us that we should have 3 to 5 areas to focus on. Number 1 being your database. The reason for that is to be able to sustain these ebbs and flows that come in the business. And so you're not just counting on one aspect of the business. And he says to build a bunker and put a moat around it. And that's the reason for it, is that there are things that happen. There are things that we can prevent by focusing on several different areas. And there's things that we don't know are going to happen. Like everybody was affected by COVID. It wasn't just me. Everybody was affected by the rise in interest rates. We all, had to adjust because of that. But because I had so after the foreclosure moratorium, I had to spend the next 2 years figuring out what do I want to be as a real estate agent when I grow up, because I had nothing else. I really didn't have anything else. So I think I've finally learned my lesson. So last month I had 3 closings. One was from door knocking. One was from my database. One was from a referral from a family law attorney. This month I have 2 closings. One's from a repeat investor and one's from an REO. So I've definitely diversified, but I will say also can't just try and do everything, because that doesn't work either. You really got to focus in on a few areas that you can get really good at. I don't regret focusing on foreclosures. I think it's really important to have a niche, whether it be a farm area, whether it be a demographic group like family law attorneys, and have something that you're really good at. Don't just focus on that one thing. And in regards to building a team is nothing more than more and bigger of what you're already doing. So it can sound really glamorous to have this team. I have this great team. But I've seen it in other agents and not just me, where they have an idea to have a big team. They haven't actually put in the work and the structures that has like the team working. Like, where does our business come from? Every transaction, how do we, have that flow through the system? It doesn't mean everything has to be perfect before you build a team, because you're going to bring people in with better skills than you who can help you to create that. But unless you actually have some sort of, it's like a team needs to operate like a greased wheel. And unless you have something in there where your team you're creating business, you have some systems in place, you can't just grow something big and expect it's going to work. And Gary Keller even has this in the MREA book, like this hobo shack and then this nicely built house. It's all about the foundation. And I definitely had hobo shack. So that's my story.
Does anybody have any questions for Lisa? Any comments, anything? Any more?
The last one, how is that even possible? Rates are way too high. Nobody's buying it.
Well, first of all, there are cash investors out there that will buy as long as the numbers work. Secondly, maybe it's a little bit of a cheat. This deal was actually put together almost a year ago, but because of the property it was and things like that, it didn't close until this year. But yes, you can do investor deals. Originally, it was an all cash deal, yes. But then he put a mortgage on it.
They were happy with the return. Going forward.
This particular deal, yeah. So and to your point, there's business to be had in every single market. So it's not just like, oh, no more investor deals. No, investors will buy as long as it's a deal. You have to find the deal.
Well, that was the message coming. That when is the best time to buy an investment property? Right now. 10 years ago. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But
really the best anytime. Right. Yeah.
We've had our biggest 2 month ever, the last few months. Just
And were they financing those deals?
one was a contract for deed, the rest were
And were they buying old or were they?
final.
And if you're not doing investment properties, you're missing out on, 2 years a month.
yeah, investors are hard in some ways because they'll just go wherever the deal is. But on the other hand, they're easy because if you find the deal, buy.
And they'll work with you if you have.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate that.
All right, you guys, we have a very special guest joining us today. We have Scott Meekish. Am I saying that right? Meekish? Meekish. Perfect. So he is going to present and tell us a little bit about mental fitness, and I will let him kind of explain the rest.
Great. I am not one for brevity. So I was given 15 minutes. So I'm going to try to burn through a lot of information in 15 minutes. I've heard we have more. So my goal is to get through as much as we can and then leave room for questions, discussion. My goal today is for you to leave here with information that lets you start asking questions about yourself. You're not going to get all the answers today. This isn't about a one size fits all, fix it quick sort of deal. And as Lisa, kind of leveraging her conversation, it really is about developing and maintaining a healthful foundation. And that is something as human beings, we're not a lot of times taught or it's explained to us as far as how our nervous system works. So I like to start with this picture of me as a kid sitting on a pumpkin here, our childhood home in Fargo, North Dakota, to really just get across that nervous system that's in that developing organism is the same nervous system that's running through me right now. Unconsciously, it's keeping your heart beating, it's keeping your lungs going, it's keeping every function in your body and brain going. That really is 90 to 95% of your brain activity. Processing billions of neurological signals a second. Your conscious mind, your prefrontal cortex, that I won't get into right now, but that's our mature brain. It's not fully developed until our mid-20s. And it only operates maybe 5 to 10% of brain activity. It only processes about 40 neurological signals a second. So your unconscious nervous system is doing a lot. And there's a reason I'll get to that too. So I'm going to step back here. I went through the Keller Williams prep program. I am on the track of studying to get my realtor's license, but with the intent and really exploring, from my mental fitness business. I started back in 2018, the pandemic, a terrible time to start a new business. And I was unemployed for a couple of years during the pandemic. I wasn't set up to go online. I wanted to be here with live people to share space with people online. That is wonderful. It's opened the door to so many opportunities to reach out to people, to connect, to make it more accessible. But there's something about being with people in a space, sharing a space that is important for us. Again, our health, our neurological activity, the dopamine, the gratitude practice you did at the beginning, that neurologically triggers dopamine in your system. It regulates your stress response. It optimizes your mental function to help you think more clearly, to help you think more strategically. Those practices, they're not just magic. They're neurological practices that are stimulating different neurochemicals in you. So this is why I wanted to work with Keller Williams. I connected with Jason Koenig of the Odd Couple team. He just texted me. He's speaking at the Maple Grove office. So he wasn't able to be here today, but he connected me with Nick. I attended a meeting at the Uptown office a week or two ago with another friend who's a Keller Williams realtor. And they had a panel talking about the struggles of their business, especially this year. And a lot of the conversation gravitated to how do you maintain your mental health? How do you deal with stress management, all the unknowns, all the stresses that you're dealing with? And I'll get to in a second why it's not just positive thinking and bullying your way through it. There are health consequences to that. So I'm going to kind of progress here. Oops, we went backwards. That's the last slide. I'll get to that. A little clicker. There we go. So, at some point in life, maybe right now, all of us as humans, we've experienced one or more or all of these. The big A in the middle is one that I personally have dealt with for most of my life, but really didn't know it was a thing until, again, in my 20s. And only recently was diagnosed after, I'll share with you an episode that I had that's related to anxiety. attempted a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI. Maybe some of you are familiar with them, but that is, again, it's trying to balance out your neurochemistry. It didn't really have a huge effect on me, but with my mental fitness practice, just knowing where that serotonin, if you've heard of it, if you haven't heard of it, this isn't a matter of knowing all the lingo, but that's the neurochemical that helps you feel content. So it helps you feel safe. It's what allows you to digest better. 90% of serotonin comes from your gut. So if you're not eating well, if you're not maintaining your health, that is a big part of your emotion driver. A big part of your neurochemistry comes from a healthy gut, from nutrition and eating well. So don't skimp on meals. Make sure you're, again, in our fast food, fast-paced economy in our world, it's really easy to not eat healthy and to feel stressed, and it just is all connected. So again, that may not be the missing link for you, but for some of you, it might be. So again, leaving here with questions, leaving here with things to think about just to maintain, feel better about yourself. I wrote, there's a card on your tables there. So a book I published at the end of 2021 is called My Brain Can't Poop, a mental fitness guide for humans. And this captures, just a huge brain dump of everything we're talking about here today. Just to, again, understand yourself, the human neurological being and everything that's functioning in you, but from a very accessible, kind of lighthearted, practical way. So really applying it to life. It's not just about sitting in a science lab somewhere. This is really about your life, your work, your family, your relationships, everything you're managing. How does that really affect you neurologically, mentally, from a brain health perspective? And I share this. This was me the weekend after I published my book.
Wow.
So again, without knowing it, I liken this to the weightlifter that goes in the gym that lifts the largest weight possible without asking for a spotter. Now, I know this neurological stuff is happening, but this was a clear reminder and signal from my nervous system. I basically went into anaphylactic shock. It was stress-induced, an autoimmune response. It was basically an allergic response to stress. And what had happened, I'll just give you in brief, is I published my book, I self-published, loaded the manuscript. It's been 4 years in the making. I've been on unemployment. It's the pandemic. This is a desperate thing that a lot of people are seeking and needing that even mental health practitioners don't oftentimes understand or discuss with their clients, really understand the nervous system. I felt so good. It was like this euphoric, like dopamine rush of just, oh my gosh, this is like the moment that I've been working so hard for. A few hours later, I just went back. My anxiety kicked in. I'm like, I just want to peek at that manuscript, make sure that it's perfect, that, this is going to really, launch my business. And I started to see little typos, like that sentence got chopped off. Like, how did I not see that? But I have a communications background. So I'm like, there's a reason why you have an editor. There's a reason why you have other people review your drafts. I went into all of a sudden this panic mode, and I asked my husband, I was like, can you drop everything you're doing today? Just take half of this book and like read half of it. I'll do the other half so I can polish this thing, get it done. And he said, I'm really busy. I can't help you today. And instantly my hands started to itch. My eyes started to swell. I got hives down my arms. They look like mosquito bites all up and down my arms. I've had hives before, but never in this severe capacity. And there is, a relation to different autoimmune conditions with COVID as well. But the trigger was stress. So what actually kind of manifested, but was absolutely the stress response of my unconscious nervous system that had been running on hyperdrive for a chronically long period of time, as many of you probably are too. And when you come off of that, there's a reason why even in retirement, you need to have a slow burn. You need to have a cool down. You need to descend gradually. You don't just go from busy this day to nothing next. Because a lot of times that can trigger depression, can trigger heart condition. People may have a heart attack. You're throwing your nervous system off. You're going from this majorly stressed state to just bam, it has nothing. And for me, it was really that learning process that, yeah, it's great to feel dopamine. It's great to have that achievement and that reward, but ease into it. Like, keep a realistic perspective that you still need help. This isn't the end of the run. This isn't the end of it. And to really have the support and knowledge that you need to kind of keep taking care of yourself and your nervous system, even after you cross the finish line. That's not how life works, right? You keep running after the finish line to get to the next finish line, to get to the next finish line, to get to the next finish line. So this, I jokingly say that my next book will be called, how my book on mental fitness nearly killed me. And it really is due to this part of our body and our brain, our nervous system that we don't have control over is our unconscious nervous system. So understanding that, and the practices like gratitude, like eating well, meditation, mindfulness, it may even require therapy. It may require clinical care for you to know, what is my nervous system dealing with that I need to take care of to optimize, to thrive, to work through the stresses of life, through all the changes I'm dealing with, through compounded grief, through loss, through, business stress, to family stress, to relationship stress, to all the stress that you're dealing with. Because your nervous system will let you know in one way or another when you're not taking care of yourself. And it can manifest and come out in different ways. Again, whether it's heart disease or hypertension, high blood pressure, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation. It's Suicide Prevention Month this month. So all of this, is really important to know, so that especially as business owners, especially as people who put a lot of pressure on yourselves, that oftentimes it is hard to find the support, to find the resources that you need to maintain and optimize. Again, think of that bodybuilder. There's no shame in asking for a spotter, and you don't want to crush yourself under this huge weight. For some reason in our culture, we think mentally, emotionally, we should just be able to take it all on ourselves and not ask for help. But your nervous system, you can't fool your nervous system. It's gonna do what it's gonna do. So really understand that, to take care of yourself, you really have to understand what's going on inside of you and take care of that. 80% of deaths are related to lifestyle. And again, this is lifestyle is in terms of, it's not necessarily genetic. It's more so environmental. It's more so, what are the social and environmental influences that are influencing, again, your nervous system, your health, your functioning. So again, Keller Williams, one of the reasons why I'm so excited to get involved and be part of this is because of their culture of support, of coaching, of community involvement, community engagement. It's not just business as usual, yourself on both ends, burn the midnight oil. There is a supportive function to this business model, and that I really am grateful and appreciate that sort of business ethic and culture. I have the slide again. The neurochemicals that I tend to focus on are endorphins. You probably heard of this. So that's a pain reliever. So when you're doing physical exercise, when you're getting a hug, when you're just doing something that makes you feel good, you flood yourself with those endorphins. That can, boost motivation. So those things that seem hard at first, once you start doing them, you feel good about doing it. You get those endorphins going. Serotonin, again, that's the safety neurochemical. That's the content neurochemical. So when you're happy and content, we talk a lot about comfort food. And so there's a reason to that too, but how does that food make you feel a day or two later? That's the question. It's not necessarily on the taste buds as it's going down, but how does it feel later? Cortisol is a stress hormone. Cortisol you actually need. So none of these are bad. Cortisol is what gets you up in the morning. So this is what kind of gets your heart going, gets you going. It makes you awake. Cortisol is an anti-inflammatory. So when I went in for anaphylactic shock, they put me on prednisone, a corticosteroid that produces cortisol. So it seems counterintuitive to either have too much or too little of cortisol, but that's really what it's all about, is finding a balance. And we don't always know what these levels are in ourselves. The best we can do is have our feelings and emotions that are signals. So when we don't acknowledge those feelings, when we don't acknowledge those emotions and we just want to suppress them or hide them, they're signals telling us something. They don't just come from nothing. That is part of our unconscious nervous system. So how do you process them? We have to process them through, that's part of talk therapy, is it's bringing out all the unconscious neurological signal that we call emotions, that we call our thoughts and feelings. It brings it into our conscious mind so we can figure it out. We can lay it on the table and figure out what's going on. But there are other ways to process it too. Physical exercise, again, you're able to produce those neurochemicals that optimize your mental function to help you gain some clarity, to help you gain some focus. Eating well, sleeping well. Sleep is a huge one. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're just caffeinating yourself. You're tricking your body into thinking it's awake, and it's not. So sleep is a huge one. I've just, even the CPAP machine of CPAP, that can be a huge detriment to your mental health as well. But I use this slide because a lot of times what we are focusing is on the behavior. We are very judgmental of behaviors. So what is that behavior? And of course, we reward great behavior and we punish healthy behavior. But when you have an unhealthy behavior, what's rewarding and reinforcing the healthful behavior? You're just basically being told, stop doing that. So what do you replace it with? You just try to avoid punishment, right? So, okay, I'm going to lie. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to tell people about it. I'm going to sneak over here and do it because I just don't want to get punished. There's no reward. Nobody's rewarding you for the healthful behavior, for the healthful change. What is that dopamine? Where's the reinforcement coming from? And that's why I really want to flip how we think about food on its head, because we get really hard on ourselves by not going to the gym, not eating well, all these things we should do, and you should be doing this. But really, where's the reward coming from? And that's why people might use a personal trainer. Why you have a coach at Keller Williams. They provide that external source of dopamine, serotonin. You're safe. I believe in you. When your unconscious nervous system is firing, saying, no, you're not good enough. You can't do this. I've done this before. It's not going to work. There is another influence and source saying, okay, I'm here for you. You got this. You can do this. Again, it's not magic. This is how we work as organisms. We need that healthful influence from surroundings, from each other. So a lot of times boils down to, are we using fear, hope as a motivator? And we are very stress driven and we are very fear driven. And it gets your adrenaline pumping, right? But sustaining that, it can be chronically damaging to your nervous system, to your physiology, or your immune system and your body. And stress has, impacts every aspect of your being. It's just not a mental thing. It's your mind is connected to every other part of your functioning brain and body. I also, through my program, I talk a lot about even the waves of change through grief. So it's not just a matter of getting over it, but it really is a process. And maybe some of you have heard of the waves of grief or the stages of grief, and people talk about them differently. Ultimately, it's your nervous system trying to adapt and reconfigure to a new reality. Whether that is a change in your business, it's a change in your family, somebody's moving. With Jason, when he helped me sell my house, the thing that resonated with me when he told me, he's like, you'll know when it's the time to sell when you're excited for where you're going. I knew the stress for me was, I can't maintain this house. I need to downsize because the finances are killing me. But that stress was not a great motivator. It just left me with more stress. So having that hope and having that optimism and having that support of what could be, like, this is a really stressful time. It's a stressful change, but there's something waiting for me. There's something that will benefit me on the other end. That's why death and dying and losing a loved one is so hard, because we can't see any sort of benefit to them being gone. And it can be a lifelong process of grieving. So it's not something you get over, but it's something you constantly look for. What are those signals of hope? What are those signals that just get you through the next day, that get you through the next week? And why, again, we need each other and we need that social support to get through that. So the question I leave you today is, what's influencing you? So you as an individual, again, I don't do mental fitness to just give people a one size fits all. You need to breathe. We will do a couple of exercises, Before we leave, how are we doing on time? So I'll give you a couple of exercises just so you can kind of have them in your back pocket. There's a list there that kind of explains the process of going through two. A couple of other things I just like to call out too is that every brain is as diverse as every body. So this is really the concept of neurodiversity that you'll hear more and more about. Unfortunately, it's a lot of times very limited and narrow that it just kind of comes up when we're talking about the autism spectrum, about ADHD. But you know, those are things that are diagnosed oftentimes late in life. No, so the reality is we are as diverse neurologically as we are, you know, physically in every other capacity. So what for you, what do you need? What is your body telling you? What does your brain and body need to thrive and optimize? And the number of factors and variables involved, from genetics all the way down to access and sleep and your physical and mental abilities. So I use the acronym Open Mind. So these are a couple of takeaways. And if you have any questions, you know, I'll be here. Feel free to reach out. So when you think of open mind, think of it this way: whether you're working with a client who's difficult, or an employee who's difficult, or a family member, you know, a lot of times throw it back and forth, like keep an open mind, keep an open mind. Guess what that is? That's a stress response. And it's not probably going to achieve the goal that you want. So really, to think about an open mind means that that is a lowered stress state, optimizes your cognitive functions of critical thinking, comprehension, empathy, problem solving, all those great mental functions that optimize best when your stress response is lowered. So I use OPEN, oxygenate. So there's a breathing exercise I'll show you. Process, again, however you need to process, whether that's journaling, whether that's talking to somebody, that's going outside for a walk and just thinking, like just relieving this, figuring it out. Just let yourself be with how you're feeling, but get out in nature, get away from whatever that stress trigger is for a moment to let yourself regulate. And then exercise. So exercise, not just physical, but this means a practice. When you're exercising, whether that is going for a walk or that's just a daily routine. Think of exercise as really something that you do as a practice, as a routine. Could be mindfulness. It could be a practice of gratitude. That's sort of exercise. And then nourishment. So again, what are you eating? Are you feeding your brain and body? Really, you know, embracing the challenge, because the change may be helpful, it may be unhelpful, it may be really hard, it may be easy, depending on who you are and what the change is. So really embracing the challenge of figuring out what's helpful versus unhelpful for you, optimize brain health and mental function, feel and do your best. So on the little workout sheet here, so I'll give you a breathing exercise that's part of the balance. So again, when Lisa was talking about foundation, whether you're talking about mental fitness or physical fitness, it's about starting to develop that healthy foundation. And whether it's your muscles or your mind, your nervous system is that first part. So if you've ever worked out with a physical fitness trainer, first thing you do is you're going to do a balance exercise. Then you might do stretching. And then you might get to the warm up and do the weights. But you don't go in and just pick up the heaviest weight in the room. Do these preparatory exercises to establish that healthy foundation to get you ready to do the work. Same thing goes for your brain and your mind. You have to do these preparatory practices to get your brain to optimize your nervous system to do the work, manage that stress. So the breathing exercise that I use, whether you're at home or at the office or here, is breathing through your nose for 4 seconds. Holding it for around 4 seconds, depending on your capacity, you know, however your nasal passages are feeling today. Holding it for 4 seconds, breathing out through your mouth for around 4 seconds, and then holding that for 4 seconds. And repeating that 4 times if you're able. If you're in a moment where you just need to kind of regulate the stress response, you can do this in line at the grocery store, do it in your car. And close your eyes. I mean, hopefully when you're not driving, you don't want to close your eyes. But if you want to, you know, reduce stimulation, close your mind, close your eyes, find a safe space, but it's something you can do at your desk. It's something you can do wherever you are. And the reason, I explain it further, the reason you breathe through your nose is that it produces nitric oxide breathing through your nose, which dilates your blood vessels, which increases oxygen absorption into your brain. You hold that for 4 seconds to get as much oxygen out of that breath as possible. You breathe through your mouth, you exhale through your mouth because you have more lung capacity. So you're exhaling more carbon dioxide. It balances your oxygen levels in your body faster. At the same time, you're hijacking your nervous system by slowing your breath rate, tricking your body into thinking, next. Okay, my breath is slowing. That must mean that I'm not stressed, that there's not a lion chasing me, that there's not danger around the corner. So you're both oxygenating your system, you're oxygenating your brain, and you are regulating your nervous system that thinks it's in a stressed, panic, danger state into we're okay. So if you want to do that right now, we'll do that, just 4 seconds. We'll do one round of it just so you can kind of feel how it feels. A lot of times people say they have tingles through their body when they do it too. But if you breathe through your nose for 4 seconds, hold that for around 4 seconds. 3, 4. So for around 4 seconds. Hold that for 2 or 3. And breathe through your nose. How many people felt a little tingly? Yeah. Yeah, and it's the response of your nervous system that is regulating and going into a calmer state. And if your thought goes back into, oh my God, I have work to do, you're going to stress yourself out, and trigger that stress response again. So it's not a fix all, that breathing is just to get you in that moment into a place where maybe you have a little more focus, a little more clarity, where you can determine those next health concerns. And these practices are all outlined on that sheet too. When the slides, I just talk a little bit more about the neurochemistry behind it. So again, it's not just magical mystical. There's actually body chemistry going on when we are doing these practices. A big one that I also reference is music. So if people enjoy music, if you find it relaxing, if you find it motivating, music is huge. Because your brain and body respond to it neurologically. It can alter your heart rate. It can produce, adrenaline, endorphins just from listening to music. So if you have music that helps you in different ways, create a playlist. Have something. I tell people if they want something to play while they're working, don't pick music with lyrics. The brain's going to want to follow along or listen to what they're saying. So instrumental music, but figure out what works for you. So music's a big one because it's a very passive thing. You can just put it on the background and you don't really think about it. I also have a free mental fitness assessment. So this is something, if you want to dig deeper, if you want to do an assessment of yourself, just to kind of figure out, where are some areas that I might want to focus on, where I might be, kind of lacking, whether it's, drinking enough water or feeling safe in my environment or feeling good about other people. Kind of what are those factors that are really impacting you socially, environmentally, nutritionally, and chemically. This is available for free on my website. There's a QR code there. That's also the QR code on those little flyers and handouts. So there you go. It's a lot. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Everybody's so relaxed now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love this work. It is really hard to get into organizations who don't embrace it already. So again, I just applaud Keller Williams for having that coaching, supportive ethic to the business and work that you do. Because it's just needed. We're not just cogs in a machine. We're actual beings that need healthful energy from we eat to each other, to our environment, to sunshine. So even windows, that's great. Yeah, we'll reach out anytime, and I look forward to staying connected. Hopefully you'll see my face around more, and I appreciate Carrie for
Well, and definitely, guys, reach out to me. I found this was fabulous. I loved it. It was great. If there's a lot of you in the room that are feeling that same thing and would like to do this at maybe a bigger level, a deeper, longer level, let's look at doing that, getting you in here again. So just kind of give some feedback to myself, Jordan, just shoot us some notes, and just let us know hey, I found that really helpful and I'd love to go a little bit deeper and get you back because we would love to do that. That was awesome.
yeah.
All right. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And in my follow-up email that I send after the team meetings, I will send out Scott's info, anything else that I can share with you guys from him too.
All right, just a reminder, tomorrow morning, in this room as well as online, 8:30, following up with Nick and, the MREA Breakfast of Champions, pages 118 through 172. Again, I know a few people still may not have books, so just always stop and see me. I've got books in my office. But this is actually going great. We've had some great feedback, great turnout. So definitely join us again tomorrow for this at 8:30 a.m. And
All right,
tomorrow-
you guys. So tomorrow, I can't believe it's already tomorrow,
I
is
know.
our back to school barbecue and potluck. So just a reminder, this is an internal event for all of our agents, and it's for you guys to invite your family, bring the kids out, whoever you would like to bring
Grandma,
with you.
grandpa,
Yeah,
they're with
grandma
you.
and grandpa.
Yep.
So yeah, we do have the sign up sheet, that QR code right down there. I'll also send it out again today. Just for you to sign up, let us know that you're coming, as well as to sign up for a side dish, because we will have that kind of potluck of all the sides. So yeah, we're gonna just have bags, drinks, fun.
Doors will be open, so we'll have the
Yeah.
picnic tables out. So it'll be a great time. So definitely, even if you're just stopping in for a little while, just, stop in, see us, grab the kids, the spouse, come on by, significant other, and yeah, we'd love to meet the rest of the family as well. So
And the Marky Marks will be grilling.
grill masters have their fancy hats on. Mark, you
Special thing.
Do it for you, Jen.
all right, I sent this out this morning, so hopefully you got a chance to see it. If not, please check your emails. We have, the region is putting on the business, planning clinic with John Prescott on October 4th, if I remember correctly, and I can't believe it's not actually on there, but I think it was October 4th. I apologize. Here's a little bit more about it. So if you've got it, it should be in your email. This flyer is here at the bottom if you want to learn a little bit more about John, but, phenomenal event and perfect timing. So please definitely check that out. And Bold, October 11th. That is right around the corner. I should be wearing purple. At least Todd's wearing purple today. So hopefully some of you also have purple on in here, but time to sign up for Bold. We're going to make it even better. First 10 people watching the people. So the sign up comes through. So if we get 12, you got to be one of the first 10. And I know everybody always runs to me and says, well, is I number 10 or how many are left? First 10 people to sign up before this Friday. The cost is, I'm going to say 8, but it's $7.99. You will get 400 paid by the Market Center. 400, that's half off. But you're really getting more of a deal than you'll imagine, because you're going to make that worth back in no time. And where did Alec? I was just a little bit.
He just walked out.
And so now our guest, sorry.
No, I'm feeling a little dizzy, so I'm gonna feed it. But I want to tell you about my whole experience, because it was a little unique. I didn't get any transactions out of it whatsoever. Mainly because I didn't do any of the book. That was the biggest thing. I was pushed into Bold from one of the leaders in my brokerage. And I don't know if I was fully ready for it, but it was the best decision that I made, because mentally it changed everything for me. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the work ethic. I didn't have the self-discipline to do any of it. For being surrounded by people and seeing what they do to succeed, being in the presence of a coach that is pushing you, driving you, and teaching you what you need to do was life-changing for me. So I didn't get anything out of it, but every other year after that was amazing for me. So sometimes you're not getting the financial gain immediately, but if you spark something in you to say, I can do this, I have what it takes, and you have people believing in you and holding you accountable to do these. I mean, I failed forward during that whole thing, and I was driving to Rogers to see J. Michael Manley, my bowl coach Steve. And I was a friar on that medical center. I was at the stage of that, was falling. I had a cancer scare, and we lost our home We lost my my father-in-law, and my wife got in a car accident. So I had all that going on. And it was almost like my entire life was imploding, and he was that hand that was lifting me out of that rubble. So for me, it was literally everything. And so I want to encourage you, if you are just dipping your toe into the pool of real estate right now and you're kind of afraid to jump in, take hold, it's going to push you into the deep end and it's going to teach you how to win. Because if you don't have someone pushing you, you're not going to do it on your own, right? No one's going to be alone here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Alec. And Alec that is pure, honest, and just that's truth right there. So definitely first 10, and then the rest of you should still be there. And I know, just so you know, those of you there are many people in this room, probably online, who have taken it 10 plus times. I think honestly, in the KW history, I'm going to say I think Debbie Benson wins the deal because I think she's probably taken it like 30 times. But there are people who have literally 10, 12, 15 times, and you learn something new every time. Thank you, Alec.
And the first step is free. So if you're kind of on the fence, if you're like, I don't know if I want to make that commitment right this second, go to the first step on October 11th. It's free to you. You can make that decision from there if you're like, I'm ready to go. But the first 10, get that 50% off. So something to think about.
Our Market Center code, or 427. That's, yeah, sorry, 427.
Woohoo! All right, last things. I know we're over time a little bit, but just a reminder, we have the CE Knockout round 1 on October 4th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So we'll have a quick half hour for lunch, probably do pizzas or subs. It's just a really easy way to come in person and get some CE hours done. Minnesota Department of Health will be here teaching. And so we have that Eventbrite link right there, that QR code. I'll also send it out again. So let's get our CE done.
I said I've had a lot of questions about this. Yes, we will still be doing also our 2-day. So we will later on be jumping into our 2-day, knock it all out. Okay, let's jump to the road just real quick. So I want to, guys, all of our big events for clients are coming up. We talked about your database and how you feed that and what you're doing. Part of that is getting in touch with your clients. So I wanted to make sure everybody is really looking at this because these are those client events that are coming. And when Shane Montoya was here, he talked about something that was really important. We could flip to the next page. Get a save the date out there. Let them know that you've got these things coming. I know that Karen Collins came up with this great idea of kind of getting them all out there right now. These are some of the agents that are grabbing it already, but please talk to Sean, shoot him an email if you're going to get involved in this. And again, even if you're only doing 2 of the 3, maybe, but get in some information on this, get this out to your clients and do a save the date. Again, it's one touch right now. You're going to continue to make touches as you're going through the end of the year towards these events. So definitely take advantage of that. Peter, I see that hand going up and down. What you got?
Oh, I don't scared that it says that.
Which for what? Maybe a different.
I scared off.
Was it on there?
Yeah.
We'll check it out and we'll resend it up. She'll have it in her recap. No, yeah, I appreciate it. She'll have it in her recap and we'll make sure the date's correct. And I think that though is we're good. The other ones are and family reunions. Rooms are gone, guys. Like most of these hotels are already full. They are daily opening up hotels here and there rooms, but I know there is already, I'm going to say from here, I think we're over 15 people already registered that are going. Get signed up for family reunion. We can talk more about this at the next one. Because I know we're over and we don't want to go any further, but any questions? Do you have something? Yes. A broker.
Just super quick, we have a new affiliated business disclosure form on Instanet. Reflects Mark's change over to Lakes Area Mortgage. Anyone that isn't like locked into a PA, please update their form and start using that one going forward. If you carry paper copies, ditch them, put the new one in.
Thank you, Lynn. All right, anybody else? Thank you. We appreciate all of you.